encourage them to
not go outside
of Prabhupada's line,
and especially to the
Rasta Anyway, not to get into too much detail, but the particular Mahant who was the leader over there, he's passed away in recent years. Aindra would pick apart all of the different criticisms and particular points that they would emphasize or champion and show by all logic and reason in accord with what is revealed to us in our line, how this is erroneous.
So Aindra put
a lot of energy into that.
I had several friends, seniors, who kind of left exactly like that. They went to Radhakund for something more wonderful, whatever they thought. And even just recently, like the depth of what Aindra gave, it's so big and it's so deep. And there were conversations that I remember at that time where different devotees were kind of challenging Aindra Prabhu on his conceptions, on his understanding, and there was a long time he preached to me also. I don't know about Delhi devotees. I mean, I know many stories about that, but there was a long time where he preached to me to kind of try to fix my faith, and he used his own example as the things that he was gifted by Srila Prabhupada, by revelation, as a way to as kind of a way to give me faith. And anyway, I'm not able to say it all clearly actually. But there was one question I asked him. When he's talking about understanding one's identity in service to Krishna. And at one point I said something like, at what stage of Krishna consciousness is that appropriate? Who might think about something like that? Just one of his really heavy, strong comments was, he didn't say something like, well, it says in the XYZ Shastra that this stage of the, he said just with full heart, he said, there comes a time in a man's life when he needs to know. He said like that.
Now is the time to move on. There's things about Aindra Prabhu a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of misunderstanding about Aindra Prabhu. And since he has left, many people have come to me and tried to say things, a little bit slighting Aindra. He didn't understand this. He didn't fully get it. And I'm talking about leading devotees, not just general devotees, a lot. It's not one person. Honestly, just as a sincere seeker, especially in the last year, about a year ago, someone came and said something that fully triggered me on this, and it really sent me down the rabbit hole. And at a certain point, I watched this was presence. People were kind of challenging him on this. And Aindra was he was really brilliant. It can't be overstated. They came to him and they said, but you don't understand this. I'm just speaking because I don't feel it's very so appropriate to speak specifically. And Aindra kind of cut them off. He's like, yeah, I know what you're going to say. You're going to quote this verse. You're going to quote this verse. You're going to quote this verse. And then he's like, but you haven't thought about this. He said to me when I kind of said, but people say it's like this. And I just remember him very strong. He's like, people who speak like that have not thought about this very deeply. And my humble my conviction is that all of these devotees they've left the shelter of Prabhupada thinking that there's something better outside. To be honest with you, my adamant feeling about this
is all those
people have gone outside and they got some kind of like little bit weird, distorted conception. There's something covered about what they hear out there, you know, and we're talking about the most exalted aspects of Krishna consciousness. They're getting some kind of like distorted, little bit tinged with Mayavad, kind of like weird thing that's not actually in line with the Shastra. And I'm convinced about this because now I've like humbly asked all kinds of people that are, you know, brilliant sannyasis that are really interested in these kinds of topics. I actually think if you will just follow Aindra's line of thought on these like most esoteric points, you're actually going to get like the most pure, most powerful
kind of Gaudiya
on the topic.
I'm convinced that Aindra Prabhu is a great giant of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. I'm convinced that for the last, I don't know, it's like some funky cloud that has been, you know, on the over like the sun that can like dissipate all the kind of darkness of clouds and shine real light on the most exalted goals of Krishna consciousness. Is that right?
He didn't get influenced by anyone but his guru. That's a very important thing.
And if he heard from others, it was in, what's the proper words, in the spirit of analyzing or collating how it fit in with what Prabhupada, he always felt that Prabhupada was right there instructing him and guiding him and directing his vision. And
very correct, exact ascertainment. When you were saying that, it made me think about. And I think I recorded this. You can listen to this. Aindra's telling he joined the temple and he had two subsequent visitations. I think the first one was a host of saintly persons and exalted beings came down and were like sternly saying, do not leave this movement. This is your chance in this lifetime to go back to God. Under no circumstances should you leave. And then just a few days later, I just said just 1 week in the movement, just before falling to sleep. It's like Krishna and Balaram and all the cowherd boys, and it's like kind of like transparent glass, and he's underneath, and they're making this joyous sound, and the ankle bells and the bugles and their talks and everything, color and variety, and then Krishna just gives Aindra this most beautiful, loving glance. And Aindra telling the story. Just 1 week in the movement convinced me that this Krishna consciousness is real. You know, and it just set him on the path of complete determination and dedication, no matter what. You know, his absolute resolve in this Krishna consciousness movement. It's supreme position of all other Gaudiya Vaishnava sects and manifestations, and his dedication to Srila Prabhupada. And Aindra would tell this story a lot. Maybe you heard him tell this story to busy devotees, and he's very emotional and emphatic about it. So to me, that points that this is a very special person who was sent into this world to affect very powerful maintenance, upliftment, and very powerful progressive push forward of Lord Chaitanya's movement.
New York part of Aindra Prabhu's life really shows his motive. Like he was there to preach. And so when he went to Vrindavan, to India actually, that was his idea. He wanted to do the same thing. It just the deities and Srila Prabhupada wanted him to do something else. And later you could. And later it just got revealed that just if it was like Akinchana calls it lazy preaching.
Lazy, intelligent preacher's paradise.
Yes.
not a lazy man, a lazy intelligent.
Yes, so it's like thousands of people pass by that spot, Aindra Sankirtan spot. Also, Aindra Prabhu created this harmonium that we discussed today, and it's like a very squeaky loud thing. And you would think, why would you create it? But it's actually, he thought, he was a very handy person. He thought that Lord Chaitanya, his Sankirtan movement didn't use microphones. So let's make it loud. So he made a very loud harmonium that could be used for Harinam Sankirtan. And I remember I approached Aindra Prabhu to buy one. So I thought, because my experience was just with other gurus this much time, because they're super busy, and Aindra Prabhu started talking to me, and then he said, yes, this one key doesn't work, I need to fix it. And that became an everyday story. Every day we would talk. And he would tell me what is he fixing. Radha Krishna, I remember you would run and listen to him. The whole crew would come and would talk, and I was like, wow. And in the end, when he finally gave the harmonium, he said something about it. He said, make sure that this harmonium doesn't stay in four walls. Make sure that it's out preaching, that it's out used for Harinam Sankirtan. And because it's squeaky, we couldn't actually at home. And his words were always in my mind. You have to give it to Sankirtan devotees, those who actually do Harinam Sankirtan. And in the end, we didn't preserve it. We gave it to Sankirtan devotees, that they use it for Harinam.
Saying how Aindra, I know he had an idea he was going to replicate his traveling, his mobile truck and travel around India.
And it's interesting how he was convinced to change his
inspiration or his intention was within a very loving way. That is a very nice Brijabasi man named Kapoorji,
who like on an equal level by age contemporary,
which Srila Prabhupada did more, but he was very reverential, respectful to Srila Prabhupada, and he was helpful establishing the Krishna Bhagavan Mandir in so many different ways. So anyway, this is 1986, some 8 or 9 years after Prabhupada's departure, and this Kapoorji had a dream where Prabhupada appeared to him.
Why is there
24-hour kirtan in my temple? And from 1970, they tried. It started and stopped 2 or 3 times. Ultimately, the managers thought this is just too much of a headache. You just can't maintain this. And when Aindra was there, the only kirtan
in the temple room,
besides if there was Sundar Artik or Mangal Artik, was the cassette shops playing tapes in the back. That was it. And when the temple was closed, nothing. So
and this
Kapoorji became very emotional. And Prabhupada appeared to me, and Prabhupada was like himself very emotionally.
He got like
caught up in it, and he just started crying, and he realized that Prabhupada wants me to start the 24-hour kirtan. Not like, you can't do this. No, I want to do it. No, it's in Maya, you can't do it here. But through love. And the Vrindavan, just like Kaviraj Goswami was ordered by Lord Nityananda after there was some politics, diplomacy, some problem in the house. His brother disrespected Minakadam Ram Das. Anyway, so Lord Nityananda appeared, go to Vrindavan because there you will achieve
all things. So
Srila Prabhupada established the ISKCON Western World Headquarters at 3764 Watsika Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90034. And he wanted to develop it. Everyone is going to come, and yet all the temple presidents come there to learn how to worship the deity, how we're going to paint the walls, the upholstery, the colors, everything, And then there was this intrigue which kind of filtered over from some envious godbrothers that infected some of his disciples that were in India.
Long story short,
and it just so much discouraged Srila Prabhupada that he wanted to leave.
And then he's
having a dialogue with Krishna.
I believe we're meaning
Dwarkadhish first were called,
but later
their name.
Why
Why are you sending me away?
My godbrothers,
my spiritual master gave them India. That's their place to preach. My spiritual master gave me the entire the world to preach. Why are you sending me away?
Actually,
on that note, Prabhupada one time said, "My godbrothers are like daughters. I am the only worthy son of my spiritual master. The daughters stay at home, whereas the sons go out and conquer Digvijaya."
So and then
Brahmananda Prabhu was telling the story, and actually Brahmananda was one of the people responsible for everything is forgiven.
Christian saying yes.
I want you to go to Vrindavan. And if you go to Vrindavan, I will give you a temple 100 times better than this Vatsika. And that is the Krishna Balaram Mandir. So Aindra, he gave up his idea. And he came to, and Aindra sitting in Vrindavan, anyone who criticized Aindra, you're just a Babaji, you should get out and preach. I'm very sorry, but how foolish can be, because Aindra, by sitting there, he has set the entire world ablaze in love of Godhead. His preaching, just like the Goswamis, preach the cult of Vrindavan preach the culture of Vrindavan, i.e., pure devotional service to the Lord from Vrindavan. This is your place of residence. Prabhupada, he says that we have a nice temple in Vrindavan, and I wish that some of my serious students could take advantage of it and take up the responsibility to preach the culture of Vrindavan, i.e. devotional service. So this is not, like ordinary, I'm just going to be in Vrindavan. I'm just going to happy-go-lucky. I'm going to have my apartment. I'm going to have my flat. Everything is very nice. And I just, but Aindra he was a workaholic 10 times over in Vrindavan. Like, incredible. All right. Huh? So let's have other devotees talk who are dedicated to this Keshav. There's this Chai Gaur Chand. There's you yourself, Narada Muni. Dave. Haribo.
Once he came to Nepal.
But you've been serving the Kirtan party for many years.
Yeah.
12 years in the ashram, not along with the people that did like that.
Yeah.
There's like one other.
Without Aindra there to.
Please.
Be showing me how we walk together after I'm gone.
Narada.
Krishna has now, been placed they forced. I was like William Henry Harrison's ninth president. He was days and then he died anyway. I was the head of the department for from March, April 2011 until August, where I respectfully renounced that position. It's a very, very difficult, painstaking. So, say something.
Hare Krishna.
I think enough time. People
You actually felt like you were entering the preface. Really identify with the characters, and all of a sudden you're transported and catapulted, and you enter into that story as one of the primary characters.
Wow.
So it's like, we're hearing the name, fame, form, qualities over here, and I'm studying it over there. And afterwards I go out and live my life. But you enter into. So because you're absorbed, immersed level of qualification, mercy, and his complete surrender to the cause of the holy name. To be in the purest and most sincere consciousness, devoid of any ulterior motivation. Because then you can actually do that for others, which is the greatest thing you can do for anyone else. When Kardama Muni was pleased with Devahuti, her austerities, and in serving him selflessly, giving up her princess lifestyle, the daughter of Swayambhuvamanu, he said, "What can I give you? But I want to give you what I have gotten for my long austerity and penance, love of God. And just see how great this is." And so Prabhupada says, to give love of Godhead to someone else is the greatest gift we can give to someone we, quote, presume, unquote, to love. So Aindra did that. All right, so maybe should we hearken to Raj Mohan's...
What was your experience in Kirtan?
Same.
I get to...
You asked.
I got the attack snack. Divya, yes.
How do you? I also read that he was doing, like you said, also he was a very hard-working person, and he was doing a lot of things in his room, like all the things. How, and it seems like it was like a big part of his offerings also. Like, yeah, like, can you speak about
Aindra said that I left New York City because Aindra grew up in the country, lived on a farm, countryside. He had like animals.
We are.
Okay. Good to see
We
you.
have Papa, and we would be very happy to stay, but we're sorry.
Thank you so much.
Be sure. What was I saying?
that he is grown up in this village?
I can't. I just lost my train of thought.
I never grew up in the country. He was doing
Right. So I thought that I would go to Vrindavan and direct and recreate in a very noisy boys' school.
Hilarious.
So, and then all the rooms were like that. So, Aindra first he thought for my kids and that proper. Everyone had a fan. And there was the Kirtan party was the first, became the envy of all the other departments.
But that was a little.
Aindra, they said, Aindra, you get prickly heat, air conditioning, and he would only had got. So then he constructed for the rooms, which was 3 rooms, room 90, room 87. He's room 89. The room next to him
It was
is
90.
90, 89, 88, and 87.
I think so.
3 rooms. And then all the other, the departments, the Bajaris and all the other rooms. Well, what about us? And like we just constructed the loft upstairs. That's a good idea. We should put that in. They're going to have to build that and do it. So Aindra, he built the same, and electrical and fans for all the other rooms. So how he found the time in the day in his life to do everything. And actually his kirtan, maybe you could say, it got to the point where, 30 minutes was the standard, and sometimes he wouldn't, 6:35, 6:40, Whereas years ago, in the early 2000s, it would be a solid hour. 6 to 7 o'clock, in the winter season, 5:30 to 6:30. And in previous years, he would. Yes.
We're an hour over time, and
we're an hour over time. This is Mother Gopi Kanta. She was a young lady who received the mercy of Aindra Prabhu from his preaching truck. I believe it was in Bryant Park.
wow.
Wow.
Excuse me. Careful of that knife. I don't like the way that's.
Krishna, everyone. Yes, I would just quickly like to say a few words of my first encounter with Aindra Prabhu, which was back in, 40 years ago, practically, yes. 40 some odd years, right in front of the Grace building.
Yeah.
That building that curves like this across from at that time it was called, what was it? Needle Park? Bryant Park.
Bryant Park was called Needle Park?
They used to go and shoot them.
They had a lot of. It was called Needle Park. West 72nd Street. They even made a movie with Al Pacino called Panic in Needle Park.
Yes.
That was over there.
Right behind the public library. So, yes, that's where I met him. He was out there in his vehicle, as we all know, the famous vehicle that he preached in, here in New York City. And I remember approaching him just because I was attracted to the music. He was a one-man show. He did everything. And it's incredible. People ask, how did he have time to do other things besides kirtan, preaching? But he did everything by himself. And I was really taken by that. And then I asked him, what is all this about? And then he explained to me about karma, reincarnation. And then at the end, he just said, take this book. It was the Science of Self-Realization book. And he said, take this and it will answer all your questions. All the questions that you have will be answered in this book. And then I said, okay, I give him a couple of dollars or something like that. And with that book, he actually gave me a little business card, a yellow business card at the time with the picture of Lord Chaitanya. It was black and yellow, yes. And he signed it. Well, not that he signed it. He said, if you come to the temple, you can ask for me. This is my name, Aindra Das.
Wow.
Oh. Yes. And then I said, okay, I'll just go with this. And then he says, yes, just go. And then he said, and then there's this mantra for relaxation, for mind meditation. And I said, okay, fine, thank you. So I left and I immediately started to chant that mantra. And I didn't even make it to the Sunday feast. Actually, I went on a Thursday. I met him like on a Monday or Tuesday because he was out there. And I just went on a Thursday. And he, of course, he wasn't here. But I walked through the doors, and then a nice lady greeted me. And I showed her the card and everything. I said, "Oh, it's Aindra Prabhu. Okay, come in." And then, but anyway, and the rest is history. So that's all I wanted to say. That he was a one-man show. He did everything: the tables, the book tables, the kirtan, and took time to talk to the people that approached the vehicle, and he did everything himself. An amazing. So yes.
Where's the card?
Aindra Prabhu. Sorry.
Where's the card?
Oh yes, probably my mother's attic where she put all the books that I had collected over the years at one time. And then I know I have to.
We're gonna have to.
I'm not. We all have to go for this photograph.
Where's the card?
This is a card.
I know, right?
This is the right.
Thank you for your attention.
Not quite proper.
Not Barbara, I'm going to say something.
Bebo! You have 1 minute because of art.
Well, Aindra Prabhu was very heard from what I've read. Like his consciousness was burning so brightly. When you read his books and you hear his lectures, I remember the first time I heard his lectures, I didn't know what any of the words he was speaking, but I could tell like this person is not just like saying random things. He's speaking from some real position, and it completely enamored me and amazed me. And also some astrologers that looked at his astrology, and he has a lot of different fire things in his astrology.
From German, Dutch ancestry. I didn't even know his name. Seeing and getting citizenship.
And so he liked. So every year we tried to cook some Bhagavad Purana, and some other devotees made a list of some of his. So we cooked them, and devotees and Rajmohan. Is there to do arti?
Cut the cake.
You know, arti cake.
Okay. In terms of burning bright, this is how Aindra. We're going to do the book distribution. The experience burns better than imagination. I think of the correlative dynamics of internal and external pure devotional principles. Aindra Das. And he made the company.
It's like this.
That's right. Wow.
Nice picture. It's yeah. Bye.